cell division. Now, both sexual and asexual modes of reproduction involve cell division. Cell division starts with the nuclear dividing, followed by the cytoplasm. So in this particular illustration, this is the parent cell. In the parent cell, there is a nucleus that first undergoes division. So there is a nuclear division. Then the cytoplasm of the cell separates into two, thereby separating the two nuclei into different cells. The nucleus contains genetic materials known as the chromosomes. So that's why it is very important that the nucleus is divided equally into two, so that the daughter cells will each have the right amount of genetic material, or that is the number of chromosomes. Now, the chromosome is a long thread-like structure made up of long molecules of DNA. So these chromosomes are contained within the nucleus. In cells where the genetic material, that is the chromosomes, are contained within a nuclear membrane, such cells are said to be eukaryotic. Eukaryotic cells. Cells in which the genetic materials are contained within a nuclear membrane. So the chromosomes are made up of long chains of molecules known as DNA, which is abbreviation of deoxyribonucleic acid. Deoxyribonucleic acid that make up the chromosomes. Now, if we look at the structure of the chromosome here, see, the chromosomes, as mentioned, is a long thread-like structure made up of long molecules of DNA. So these are the molecules of the DNA. And these molecules are wrapped around proteins known as histones. That is for support. So even though the chromosomes are present in the nucleus throughout, in the eukaryotic cells, the chromosomes only become visible when viewed under the microscope during cell division. So normally the chromosomes exist in the form of chromatin. In this form, the chromosomes are long, very thin, and usually tightly coiled to form structures that appear as granules. So in this particular illustration, we straighten the chromatin to appear as a long thread-like structure. But when the cell is not dividing, this chromatin exists in the form of tightly coiled thread-like structures. Now, during cell division, each chromosome is seen to be made up of two identical strands known as chromatids. There are two identical strands known as the chromatids. So, if we look at these structures more keenly, you see that a chromosome during cell division is made up of two structures known as the chromatin. Now, this becomes visible because during cell division, this chromatin becomes tightly coiled and condensed like this. And the two sister chromatids are joined together at a site known as the centromere. So during cell division, this single-strand chromatin replicates itself to produce a sister chromatin, and the two strands are joined together at a linkage site known as the centromere. Now, during cell division, another thing that happens is that the chromatin becomes tightly coiled and condensed, so that the chromosome becomes very distinct, very visible in a dividing cell. Now, these then appear as two very distinct sister chromatids. And these sister chromatids are linked together at the centromere. Now, in the cells of most organisms, chromosomes exist in two nearly identical copies of each other that are known as homologous chromosomes, or simply as homologues. So homologue is another term that is used to describe the homologous chromosomes. Now, in each pair, that is, the members of each pair are similar in appearance with almost identical genetic makeup. So in most organisms, for example in the humans, the origin of the two almost or nearly identical copies of homologous chromosome is such that one came from the female parent, thus therefore referred to as the maternal chromosome, while the other one came from the male parent, thus it is referred to as the paternal chromosome. Along the length of the chromosomes, there are a series of structures known as the genes. These genes determine the characteristics of the cells and hence of the entire organism. So for example, along the length of a human chromosome, you may have a gene for eye color at this particular spot. The same type of gene will be found on the same spot on the other homologous chromosome. So here, for example, you may have the gene for, let's say, blue eyes. At the similar spot on the other chromosome that is homologous, you may have the gene for blue eye, or it may be the gene for, say, brown eye. So the eye has brown color. But in both cases, the gene at this particular spot is responsible for the characteristic of the eye color. And so the same applies along the length of the entire chromosome. At a particular spot, you have a gene responsible for a particular characteristic. On a similar homologous chromosome, at a similar spot, there will be a gene for the same characteristic. And that's why you say that these two chromosomes are nearly identical in the sense that they carry the same type of genes at almost the same position along their length, and that's what makes them homologous. Now, different organisms have specific number of chromosomes in their body cells and also their sex cells. That is, the total number of chromosomes in the body cells or somatic cells is constant and species specific. We can illustrate this by looking at the table below. Here we have the different organisms and the number of chromosomes in their body cells and also the number of chromosomes in the sex cells or gametes. Human beings, for example, our body cells carry 46 chromosomes, and the gametes, such as the sperm and the ovum, that is the female gamete, will each carry 23 chromosomes. In the mosquito, 6 for the body cells and 3 for the gametes. The horse has 64 chromosomes in its body cells. That is all the body cells, whether they are muscle cells or the skin cells, white blood cells. the number of the chromosomes is constant, while in the gametes there are 32. In a plant like the sugarcane, the body cells have 80 chromosomes, while the gametes have 40. So we can see that the number of chromosomes in the sex cells is exactly 1/2 of the number of chromosomes in the body cells. Now, how does that come about? It's the way the sex cells are made. During formation of the sex cells, so for example, we have the human body cell. It undergoes a process of cell division that reduces the number of chromosomes by half. So we have 23. So these are the gametes that are produced. Now, during fertilization, you can say one gamete, let's say from the female parent, the ovum, fuses with the male gamete, that is a sperm, that also carries 23 chromosomes to form a cell that will have 46 chromosomes. This cell is known as the zygote. It is this zygote then undergoes repeated division to produce an individual. Now, you can see that in the body cell or the zygote, we have two sets of chromosomes. There are two sets of chromosomes. Let's say you have the red, let's give this the red from the ovum, and we also have the blue from the sperm. So this 46 is due to, we have the 23 blue chromosomes from the father through the sperm and 23 red chromosomes from the mother through the ovum. So in effect, there are two sets of chromosomes in the zygote that grows to become the individual. So all the body cells of this individual will have 46 chromosomes. Now, this type of cell that has two sets of chromosomes is said to be diploid. And it is designated the symbol 2N. The body cells of human beings are diploid because they carry two sets of chromosomes, hence designated 2N. While the gametes, that is the sex cells, have only one set of chromosome. And for that reason, the sex chromosomes, ovum and sperm in this particular case, are said to be haploid. And it is designated a single N. This is because during gamete formation, the homologous chromosomes that are present in the body cell are separated and end up in different gametes. The gametes, therefore, have only one of each type of chromosomes, and for this reason, the gametes are said to be haploid. When the two gametes fuse during fertilization, the two sets of chromosomes are brought together such that the zygote will have two sets of chromosomes. It is this zygote that divides repeatedly to form the billions of cells that make up an individual body. So all the body cells will have two sets of chromosomes, and for that reason, the body cells are said to be diploid.